For decades, the Cold War was a silent, grinding struggle, a contest not just of ideologies, but of sheer technological might. And nowhere was this more fiercely fought than in the vast, unforgiving expanse of the sky. Up there, where American and Soviet warplanes danced their deadly ballet, there was a hidden power that truly made them titans: their engines. These weren't just machines, they embodied two radically different engineering philosophies, two distinct visions for victory in a global struggle. So, who really won the Cold War in the sky? The planes or the powerful heart that drove them? Let's find out. Let's start with the American side. From the very outset of the jet age, the US approach to engine development was driven by a relentless pursuit of technological superiority. Think about it. If you can build an engine that's lighter, more powerful, more efficient, and more reliable than anything your adversary has, you definitely gain a critical edge. This wasn't just about building powerful machines. It was about pushing the very boundaries of material science, metallurgy, and advanced design. The aim here was to achieve higher thrust, greater fuel efficiency, and unparalleled reliability, often at a significant cost. A prime example from this era was a true workhorse that defined a generation of American air power, the General Electric J79. This wasn't just an engine, it was a legend, powering the iconic F-4 Phantom II. The J79 was a single-spool turbojet designed for high-speed flight. Introduced in the late 1950s, it quickly became a staple of US and Allied air forces. But what made the J79 so revolutionary? Well, for starters, its highly effective and widely adopted afterburner technology was unmatched. This allowed for a massive burst of thrust when needed for rapid acceleration or supersonic dashes, essentially injecting fuel into the exhaust for a fiery boost. But the J79 was also innovative with its use of variable stator vanes on the compressor, and this was a huge deal. By adjusting the angle of these vanes, the engine could maintain optimal airflow across a wide range of speeds and altitudes, significantly improving efficiency and preventing compressor stalls, which, by the way, is a nightmare scenario for any pilot. General Electric also pushed the future with materials science, incorporating advanced high-temperature alloys that could withstand the incredible heat and stress generated inside a jet engine. This, as you would imagine, contributed to its impressive performance and, importantly, its reliability. Finally, the J79 also featured a relatively modular design, which made maintenance and repair easier in the field, reducing downtime for critical assets. As you would expect with all those features, the impact of the J79 on the F-4 Phantom II was profound. For one, it allowed the F-4 to be a true multi-role fighter, serving as an interceptor, a fighter-bomber, and even a reconnaissance platform. Its powerful engines gave it incredible speed and a phenomenal climb rate, making it a formidable opponent, especially during the Vietnam War. And while not perfect in dogfights against more agile MiGs, the Phantom's sheer power and weapons load, largely thanks to the J79s, made it a versatile and effective platform. Now, as the Cold War progressed, the US continued to evolve its engine technology. Over time, the focus shifted towards turbofans, which offered better fuel efficiency and even greater thrust. And that was when we got the Pratt Whitney F-100, the beating heart of legendary aircraft like the F-15 Eagle and the F-16 Fighting Falcon. The F-100 dramatically improved upon its predecessors with an even higher thrust-to-weight ratio and significantly better fuel efficiency, which translated directly into greater range and longer loiter times for fighters. This allowed the F-15 to achieve unparalleled air superiority and gave the F-16 its renowned agility and versatility. So, let's recap. The American philosophy delivered engines with high performance, advanced technology, and impressive reliability, often translating to longer service lives. The downside, however, was that these were higher cost, more complex to maintain, and relied heavily on cutting-edge industrial capabilities. It was a premium approach, but one the US believed was essential for victory. Now, let's cross the Iron Curtain. On the other side, the Soviets approached engine design with a dramatically different mindset. Their core philosophy was simplicity, ruggedness, ease of production, and maintainability, especially under severe battlefield conditions. While the US chased the peak of technological sophistication, the Soviets prioritized quantity and dependability. If a component could be made simpler, cheaper, and more robust, even if it meant sacrificing a bit of ultimate performance, they would opt for it. The Soviet approach is perfectly summed up by the Tumansky family of engines, specifically the R-11, R-13, and R-25, which powered the iconic MiG-21 fishbed. Now, if you know anything about Soviet jets, you know this wasn't just a fighter. It was a symbol of Soviet air power, produced in astonishing numbers and widely exported globally. But what defined these Tumansky engines? To put it simply, their outstanding simplicity. They had fewer moving parts compared to their Western counterparts, which made them far easier to manufacture on a massive scale, and, critically, simpler to maintain in the field. They were incredibly robust, designed to operate reliably even with lower-grade fuels and in harsh, unprepared environments. But here's the crazy part. While they used an axial flow compressor, similar to Western designs, the emphasis wasn't on intricate efficiency, but on generating raw thrust reliability. With a philosophy like this, the impact on the MiG-21 itself was huge. For one, the engines enabled the MiG-21 to be a highly agile, lightweight interceptor. Plus, its power-to-weight ratio allowed for incredible acceleration and climb rates, making it a dangerous adversary in close-range dogfights. But the real win for the Soviets wasn't just individual performance, it was the sheer volume of production. Millions of MiG-21s powered by these simple, robust engines were churned out, making Soviet air power accessible to dozens of client states around the world, spreading their influence far and wide. As the Cold War intensified, the Soviets developed more powerful engines for specialized roles. The MiG-25 Foxbat, for instance, was powered by the monstrous Tumansky R-15B. This engine was a beast designed for one thing: immense power for high-altitude, high-speed flight. It allowed the MiG-25 to achieve unmatched speeds and altitudes, but it came at a significant cost in terms of fuel efficiency and engine life. It was a blunt instrument for a very specific mission. Later, with the Klimov RD-33 for the MiG-29 Fulcrum, the Soviets started to incorporate more sophistication. The RD-33 was closer to Western designs in terms of thrust-to-weight ratio and provided much better maneuverability, helping the MiG-29 achieve impressive close-in combat capabilities. This showed a gradual shift, but the underlying principles of robustness remained. So, to recap, the Soviet engines offered lower cost, easier mass production, inherent robustness, and simpler maintenance. They provided good thrust-to-weight ratio for their specific designs. However, they were often less fuel efficient, had shorter service lives, and were generally less technologically advanced in terms of cutting-edge materials and intricate complexity. It was an approach built for resilience and widespread deployment. Now, let's put these philosophies to the test with some direct comparisons. Let's take the GE's J-79 engine, which powered the American P-4 Phantom jet, and compare it to the Tumansky R-13 found in the Soviet MiG-21. When we talk about raw power, the J-79 usually gave the F-4 more push, especially at higher altitudes. This is what made the F-4 so incredibly fast. The R-13, though, strong for its size, didn't make as much overall power. But it was perfectly suited for the MiG-21's job as a quick and agile interceptor, meant to quickly stop enemy planes. As for how much fuel they used, the J-79 was generally more efficient. It had a more advanced design with special parts that helped it save fuel, giving the F-4 a longer flying range and the ability to stay in the air longer. The R-13, on the other hand, while tough, drank a lot of fuel, which often meant the MiG-21 couldn't stay airborne for very long. Things get more interesting when we look at the differences in how long they lasted and how hard they were to fix, because that was quite huge. American engines like the J-79 were built to go a long time between major repairs, which meant lower costs over time and planes that were ready to fly more often. However, they needed highly trained people and fancy equipment to maintain them. Soviet engines, on the other hand, needed repairs more often, but they were designed to be simpler to fix in the field. This meant they often required less specialized tools and could be repaired quickly, even if they broke down more frequently. This was really important for getting planes ready fast and for operating in different kinds of places. Now, why look at the differences? Well, the thing is, all these differences directly influenced military strategies. The US preferred highly capable planes that could do many jobs, needing engines that could handle various power needs for long missions. The Soviets, however, focused on planes designed for short, intense fights, relying on having more planes and simpler, tougher designs. Looking at later generations like the Pratt Whitney F-100 used in the F-15s and F-16 jets, when compared to the Tumansky R-13B in the MiG-25 and the Klimov RD-33 in the MiG-29, we find the same pattern. The F-100 was all about giving a lot of power for easy turning and good fuel use, making it great for long fights and far-reaching missions. The R-15B in the MiG-25 was purely about speed, allowing the jet to fly incredibly fast and high, but it was known for using a ton of fuel and not lasting very long. The RD-33 in the MiG-29, while more modern, still balanced good performance with the Soviet focus on being tough and easy to maintain. Now, besides design, the materials used and how the engines were made were also key differences. The US heavily used special metals like titanium and advanced manufacturing techniques, along with complex cooling systems to get the best performance and durability. The Soviets, however, often used more common, readily available materials and simpler ways of making things. They made up for this by designing their engines to be naturally tougher and less likely to break for small damage, which was a smart choice for their operational needs, especially in less developed areas. Finally, let's look at cost and how many could be produced, vital factors. US engines with their fancy materials and detailed designs were generally more expensive. Soviet engines were cheaper and could be made in much larger numbers. This was a crucial strategic choice that shows us just how their government-controlled economy differs from the US's market-driven defense industry. But the main question now is, who truly won the Cold War in the skies, especially regarding jet engines? Well, like most things, it's less about a singular victor and more about different paths to success. Undoubtedly, the US held the technological lead. American engines consistently set performance benchmarks in thrust, fuel efficiency, and material science, leading to aircraft with superior range, speed, and payload capacity. This technological edge meant fewer aircraft could achieve more, offering significant strategic flexibility and forcing the Soviets into a perpetual game of catch-up. US engines also boasted greater durability and longevity, reducing operational costs and enabling sustained global deployments. In contrast, the Soviet Union prioritized mass production and rugged simplicity. Their engines allowed for the creation of vast aircraft fleets, crucial for projecting influence and achieving numerical superiority. These engines were designed for extreme resilience, capable of operating in harsh conditions, making them ideal for less developed client states. While sacrificing some high-end performance, their good enough approach ensured rapid deployment and ease of training. Plus, you have to remember that for niche requirements like the MiG-25's pure speed, Soviet engines delivered. Ultimately, the US's relentless pursuit of superior, albeit more expensive technology exerted immense economic pressure on the Soviet command economy. This technological arms race with jet engines as a key component contributed significantly to the Soviet Union's economic strain and arguably its eventual collapse. So, if winning means technological advancement, efficiency, and reliability, the United States had the edge. If it means mass production, widespread influence, and robust operation in any condition, the Soviet Union achieved its own form of victory for decades. However, the long-term technological and economic pressure from the US approach proved to be the more potent force in ending the Cold War. And there you have it, folks, the incredible hidden story of how two very different ideas about building jet engines fought it out during the Cold War. This quiet battle inside the machines shaped planes for years to come, showing that smart design is just as important as brute force. But what do you think? Which way of building engines do you think worked best in the end? Tell us in the comments below. And if you found this deep dive interesting, hit that like button, subscribe for more amazing stories, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss what's next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.